चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नाम्ने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी चारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद शुद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 ओम
ओम
नमो
नमो
भगवते
भगवते वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
संप्रचरत्सु नाना यागेषु विरचितांग क्रियेषु अपूर्वं यत्तत् क्रियाफलम्
संप्रचरत्सु
संप्रचरत्सु नाना यागेषु
विरचितांग क्रियेषु अपूर्वं
विरचितां
यत्
क्रियेषु
क्रियाफलम्।
पूर्व यत् क्रियाफलम्
धर्माख्यम परे ब्रह्मणि यज्ञ पुरुषे सर्वदेवता लिंगानाम्।
धर्माख्यं परे
ब्रह्मणि
ब्रह्मणि यज्ञपुरुषे सर्वदेवतालिङ्गानां
मंत्राणाम अर्थ नियामकतया साक्षात्कर्तरि परदेवतायाम्।
मन्त्राणाम् अर्थनियामकतया साक्षात्कर्त्री परदेवतायाम्।
भगवती वासुदेव एव भावयमान आत्मनैपुण्यमृत कषायो।
भगवती वासुदेव एव भाव्यमान आत्मनैपुण्यम् अर्दति कषायो।
हविष्व अध्वर्युभिर्गृह्यमाणेषु स यजमानो यज्ञभाजो।
हविष्ववद्वर्युभिर्गृह्यमाणेषु स यज्ञमानो यज्ञभयो।
देवांस्तान् पुरुषावयेष्व अभ्यध्यायात्।
देवास्तान् पुरुषा वयेष्व अभ्यधयायत्।
Mary Truly.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation. After performing the preliminaries of various sacrifices, Maharaj Bharat offered the results in the name of religion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. In other words, he performed all the yajnas for the satisfaction of Lord Vasudeva Krishna. Maharaj Bharat thought that since the demigods were different parts of Vasudeva's body, he controls those who are explained in the Vedic mantras. By thinking in this way, Maharaj Bharat was freed from all material contamination, such as attachment, lust, and greed. When the priests were about to offer the sacrificial ingredients into the fire, Maharaj Bharat expertly understood how the offering made to the different demigods was simply an offering to different limbs of the Lord. For instance, Indra is the arm of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Surya, the sun, is his eye. Thus, Maharaj Bharat considered that the oblations offered to different demigods were actually offered unto the different limbs of Lord Vasudeva. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead says that as long as one does not develop the pure devotional service of Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, one must carry out his prescribed duties. Since Bharat Maharaj was a great devotee, one may ask why he performed so many sacrifices that are actually meant for Karmi. The fact is that he was simply following the orders of Vasudeva. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Whatever we do, we should constantly remember Vasudeva. People are generally addicted to offering obeisances to various demigods. But Bharat Maharaj simply wanted to please Lord Vasudeva. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. Bhagavad Gita 5.29. A yajna may be carried out to satisfy a particular demigod, but when the yajna is offered to the yajna purush, Narayan, the demigods are satisfied. The purpose of performing different yajnas is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. One may perform them in the name of different demigods or directly. If we directly offer oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods are automatically satisfied. If we water the root of a tree, the branches, twigs, roots, and flowers are automatically satisfied. When one offers sacrifices to different demigods, one should remember that the demigods are simply parts of the body of the Supreme. If we worship the hand of a person, we intend to satisfy the person himself. If we massage a person's legs, we do not really serve the legs, but the person who possesses the legs. All the demigods are different parts of the Lord, and if we offer service to them, we actually serve the Lord himself. Demigod worship is mentioned in Brahma Samhita, but actually the shlokas advocate worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda. For instance, worship of the goddess Durga is mentioned in this way in Brahma Samhita 5.44. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha Chayeva Yasya Bhavanani Vibharti Durga Ichhanurupam Apiyasya Cheshate Sa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Following the orders of Sri Krishna, the goddess Durga creates, maintains, and annihilates. Sri Krishna also confirms this statement in Bhagavad Gita. Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Swayate Sacharacharam. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. Bhagavad Gita 9.10. We should worship the demigods in that spirit. Because the goddess Durga satisfies Krishna, we should therefore offer respects to goddess Durga. Because Lord Shiva is nothing but Krishna's functional body, we should therefore offer respects to Lord Shiva. Similarly, we should offer respects to Brahma, Agni, and Surya. There are many offerings to different demigods, and one should always remember that these offerings are usually meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bharat Maharaj did not aspire to receive some benediction from demigods. His aim was to please the Supreme Lord. In the Mahabharata, among the 1,000 names of Vishnu, it is said, Yajna Bhug Yajna Krit Yajna. The enjoyer of Yajna, the performer of Yajna, and Yajna itself are the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the performer of everything, but out of ignorance, the living entity thinks that he is the actor. As long as we think we are the actors, we bring about karma bandha, bondage to activity. If we act for Yajna or Krishna, there is no karma bandha. Yajnarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. Bhagavad Gita 3.9. Following the instructions of Bharat Maharaj, we should act not for our personal satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita 17.28, it is also stated, Ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapastaptam kritam chayat asad ityuchyate partha nchatat prayatya no yaha. Sacrifices, austerities, and charities performed without faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead are non-permanent. Regardless of whatever rituals are performed, they are called asat, non-permanent. They are therefore useless both in this life and the next. Kings like Maharaj Ambarish and many other Rajarshis, who were pure devotees of the Lord, simply passed their time in the service of the Supreme Lord. When a pure devotee executes some service through the agency of another person, he should not be criticized, for his activities are meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. A devotee may have priest perform some karma kanda and the priest may not be a pure Vaishnava. But because the devotees wants to please the Supreme Lord, he should not be criticized. The word apurva is very significant. The resultant actions of karma are called apurva. When we act piously or impiously, immediate results do not ensue. We therefore wait for the results, which are called apurva. The results are manifest in the future. Even the smartas accept this apurva. Pure devotees simply act for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the results of their activities are spiritual or permanent. They are not like those of the karmis, which are non-permanent. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.23. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasa yajnaya charitaha karma samagram praviliyate. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. A devotee is always free from material contamination. He is fully situated in knowledge and therefore his sacrifices are intended for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kamastaiste Hrityana Prapadyante Anya Devata Tam Tam Niyamamasthaya Prakritya Niyata Swaya. So those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So why was Maharaj Bharat performing these activities? You see, when a patient is very sick, he's given the strongest medicine. So in the age of Kali, Harir Naam eva kevalam, the strongest medicine. There's no other way. But this was the age, this was the previous age. Maharaj Bharat actually ruled for almost 1,000,000 years. In verse 8, we see that 1,000 times 10,000 years. So you can see that, like almost, 1,000,000 years he ruled. So this must be Satyug. So we can see that Maharaj Bharat lived at a time when earth was pious. See, demigods perform important functions. They are empowered personalities. They are expansions of Lord himself, Shaktiavesh. Therefore, they have to be worshipped according to the Vedic rules and regulations. So in an age where lifespan is very large and people are generally pious, demigod worship can be carried out. Because people by nature are pious. And certainly in case of Maharaj Bharat, he was the son of the Lord himself. Therefore, he knew the exact perspective of worship. So in this age, like, for example, if there's a fire in the forest, you don't look at the various paths. You just start running in one direction away from the fire. But if the forest is pleasant, you can walk through it. You can take a leisurely walk. So in this age, you could worship demigods because knowledge was complete. Now, one must also understand that in a society, everyone is not expected to be a pure devotee. And the king's duty is to perform activities by which he can train every class of living entities. So therefore, this kind of demigod worship, for those who are still very much on the path of pravritti, this worship is prescribed. However, for those in the path of nivritti, everything is to be abandoned. Therefore, it was not a big surprise that Maharaj Bharat was performing these kind of activities, but he knew exactly who it is meant for. Yesterday we were discussing this verse from Ishopanishad. Isha vasam idam sarvam yatkincha jagattam jagat. Tena taktena vanjata madgridha kashvidhanam. So knowing, you should perform activities knowing precisely the purpose. You should enjoy in this material world knowing exactly to whom it belongs. Kashvidhanam. Madgridha kashvidhanam. So to whom it actually belongs. So Maharaj Bharat knew the precise perspective. He knew that everything belongs to the Lord. Therefore, by performance of these activities, his heart became purified. Otherwise, if one worships the demigods, if one surrenders, so to demigods, he will become contaminated. Actually, one surrenders to demigods because he is contaminated. But here in this case, by performance of these sacrifices, Maharaj Bharat became completely uncontaminated. He became completely purified. Because each of this, so he accepted demigods as various limbs of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, when he was worshipping the demigods, he practically understood that he is worshipping the different limbs of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, the sacrifices actually purified him. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments here? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, one question. Prabhuji, when we are talking about to the devotees that we preach, they are not at, including us, we are not at the level. So especially in North India, when we talk about not performing any bhakti to demigods, and those people are not at the level. So what does that look like? They pause the demigod service and they are not 100% toward Krishna either. So then what can be you don't want to suggest that, go on a middle path. So what can we do? What can we say? Because we are constantly saying this, that, devotional service to demigods is not the way to go.
See, that's why I said, when you have any doubt in your mind, meditate on what you have studied in Bhagavad Gita. And you must study Bhagavad Gita again and again through many dimensions to understand what Bhagavad Gita is saying. Then it will become very clear to you. So Krishna says, Kamastaisthir hrityana prapadyante anya devata. That means their hearts are stolen by lust. What is this lust? What do they want? They want house, family, car, all this stuff, right? And that's why they're worshipping demigods. Hanumanji should be worshipped on a Tuesday and Saturday, then Surya Dev should be on a Sunday. Like this, they carry out these ritualistic worships, right? Now, what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita about lust in the heart? See, lust means different varieties of taste in the material world. Any taste in the material world is lust. Okay, now Krishna says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina. Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Second chapter, 59th verse, Krishna is saying that. What does that mean? That one can give up a habit or a taste only when he obtains a higher taste. One may give up activities in the material plane, but the taste for those activities will still remain. But if one takes to a higher taste, then one can give them up easily. So in the beginning of preaching, we don't expect anyone to become a pure devotee. In the beginning, when we preach, just preach about devotional service itself. Let them continue. Krishna says in the 17th chapter also that, no, not 17, it is I think 7th chapter where Krishna is saying that one should not disturb the mind of those who are engaged. Yes, so don't disturb their minds. Don't tell them that this is all nonsense. Just let them carry on. And then you continue preaching the highest principles of bhakti. If they are intelligent enough, they will themselves realize what they're doing is wrong.
Yes.
But here again, there is one consideration that you should see that they are advancing properly. If after years and years people are still the same, then you should just leave them. They're just a waste of time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Ji.
Yes, so
7.
Text 7. Evam karma vishuddhya vishuddha sattasyantar hridayakash sharire.
Evam karma visuddhya
Brahmani Bhagavati Vasudeve Mahapurusha Rupopalakshane Shrivatsa Kaustubha Vanamalari Dar Gadadibhir.
Brahmani
Bhagavati Vasudeve Mahapurusha Rupa Palakshane Srivatsa Kaustubha Vanamalari Gadadibhir.
Upalakshite Nija Purusha Hril Likhitenatmani Purusha Rupena Virochamana Uchaistaram Bhaktir Anudinam Edhamana Raya Jayat.
Lakshate Nij Purusha Likhite Natmani Purusha Rupena Virochamana Uchetstaram Bhakti Nirudanam Admanayara Yajayat.
Very true.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. Sri Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. In this way, being purified by ritualistic sacrifices, the heart of Maharaj was completely uncontaminated. His devotional services unto Lord Lord Krishna increased day after day. Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the original personality of Godhead, manifest as the super soul, Paramatma, as well as the impersonal Brahma. Yogis meditate upon the localized Paramatma situated in the hearts. Jnanis worships the impersonal Brahma as the supreme absolute truth, and devotees worship Vasudeva, the supreme personality of Godhead, whose transitional body is described in the Shastras. His body is decorated with Srivats, the Kastuva, jewel, and a flower garland, and his hands hold a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower. Devotees like Narad always think of him within their hearts. Purport by Sri Prabhupada. Lord Vasudeva, or Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is manifest within the hearts of the yogis in his Paramatma features, and he is worshipped as impersonal Brahman by Jnanis. The Paramatma feature is described in the Shastras as having 4 hands, holding disc, conch shell, lotus flower, and club, as confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.8. Kashchit seva dehantre hirdev paksahe pradesi matram Tam Chaturbhujam Kanji Tatnagiri Sankha Gada Dharam Dharvadme Samalanti. Paramatma is situated in the heart of all living beings. He has 4 hands which hold 4 symbolic weapons. All devotees who think of the Paramatma within the heart worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a temple deity. They also understand the impersonal features of the Lord and body race, the Vamsamita, Brahman effulgences. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhu. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaha Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. So the saintly people always, meditate upon the Lord within the heart. So Maharaj Bharat was always meditating on the Supreme Lord within the heart. So we see usually that ritualistic sacrifices have been condemned by the acharyas. But in this case, ritualistic sacrifices are being praised here. Because Maharaj Bharat's consciousness was pure, by performance of these ritualistic sacrifices, he became further purified. Meaning that by performance of ritualistic sacrifices, he meditated upon the Supreme Lord in the form of the demigods. So who are demigods actually? They are empowered living entities who are administrators of the universe, and they act as various limbs of the Supreme Personality. Therefore, when Maharaj Bharat was performing the sacrifices to different demigods, he was meditating upon them as such. And therefore, the more he performed the sacrifices, the more his meditation upon the Supreme Lord deepened. So, therefore, all the ritualistic sacrifices, though externally appear to be like mundane activities, they actually help to further purify Maharaj Bharat's consciousness. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments? Okay, then we continue. Text 8. See, now this is one important lesson that we should take from this particular incident. We should not imitate the activities of highly elevated personalities. Great personalities like Brahma, Shiva, Surya, Chandra, Varuna, even if they commit some mistakes, that should be neglected, because these are great personalities and they would be immediately purified. To criticize their faults actually is an offense, because these demigods are always dedicated to the Supreme Lord. So likewise, we should not imitate the activities of Maharaj Bharat. One may read this pastime and immediately say, Prabhu, what's wrong in doing Vastu Shanti? What's wrong in worshipping Ganapati? What's wrong in worshipping Durga? No, the question itself is wrong. Because if someone is asking like this, that means he's a fool. He has not understood the philosophy properly. We are very contaminated. Maharaj Bharat was not doing anything for himself. He was doing it for the others. And he was the son of the Lord. We are not in that position at all. If we think like this, if we debate Bhagavatam or Gita, it means that we are not willing to accept this instruction. We and Bharat Maharaj are not on the same platform. For us, strict bhakti only is recommended. If we try to worship the demigods, we will become more and more contaminated. Therefore, we are not to imitate this particular pastime. Rather, we are just to take lesson from the way Maharaj Parikshit created upon the Supreme Lord, even through mundane activities. Text 8. Evam varsha yuta sahasra paryanta vasita karma nirvana vasaro Shri Buddhi Pujyamanam.
Evam varshayat sahasratra paryanta tavasitak karma nirvana varsaro adhi bhujyamanam swatanyebhyo.
Swatanayebhyo riktam pitra paitamaham yathadayam.
Swatanyebhyo riktam pitra paitamayam yathadayam.
Vibhajya sakam swayam sakala sampam niketat niketat kulaha ashramam pravavraj.
Vibhajya swayam sakala sampanni ketas swaniketat pulahashram pravavraj. May I read,
Yes.
Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. Translation. Destiny fixed the time for Maharaj Bharat's enjoyment of material opulence at 1,000 times 10,000 years. When that period was finished, he retired from family life and divided the wealth he had received from his forefathers amongst his sons. He left his parental home, the reservoir of all opulences, and started for Pulashrama, which is situated in Haridwar. The Shalagram Shilas are obtainable there. Purport. According to the law of the Dayabhak, when one inherits an estate, he must hand it over to the next generation. Bharat Maharaj did this properly. First, he enjoyed his paternal property for 1,000 times 10,000 years. At the time of his retirement, he divided this property amongst his sons and left for Pulaha Ashrama. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So you see, this was the time when people would perform Ashtanga Yoga. I mean, like 1 million years is his life, so he can peacefully, he's ruled for 1 million years. So he can peacefully leave and go. But one should understand, whether it's 100 years, 1,000 years, or million years, or life of Brahma himself, life is very short. So Lomash Rishi, when he was standing on the banks of the river, he was not even wearing clothes. And when he was, advised to make a kutir for himself, he became very agitated. He said that there is no time. He had how many? He had, I think, 10 or some phenomenal life, one lifetime of Brahma or something like that. And yet he thought the time was too less to remember the Supreme. The material contamination is extremely deep-rooted. We have no idea how contaminated we are. The roots of our contamination run for lifetimes and lifetimes. We have no idea how much contamination we have. Therefore, every moment is important in remembrance of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, one should plan to retire as soon as possible. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Guruji, when he says 1,000 times 10,000 years, that means the quality of the enjoyment, it was 10,000 times more.
Yeah, of course.
Which we enjoy for 10,000 years. That's right. Because this phrase is so wide that I was trying to understand what exactly it means. Okay.
See, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur also has to say something very interesting here. So in another Kirtan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says जीवन अनित्य जानः सार, आहे नाना विध विपद भार, नामाश्रय कोरी जतने तुम्ही, थकह आपन काजे. This life is temporary, and even in that temporary life, there are so many varieties of miseries. Short life. Jivana anitya janah sar. This anitya, it's always like, anitya, it's temporary, uncertain. Anitya literally means, uncertain. Jivana anitya janah sar. Tahe nana vidha vipada bhar. And in that uncertain life also, there are so many disturbances. Now imagine you're riding a bicycle in, say, that Dras Kargil sector, that road, and there also the wheels are wobbly. You're always in a very dangerous situation there. So life is exactly like that. Padam padam yajviptam. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So namashraya kori jatane tumi. So, try to take shelter of the holy name. That should be your only business. Thakaha apana kaje. That should be the only business. That should be the only consideration of yours. That you should be getting the shelter of the holy name. That you should derive satisfaction in simply chanting the holy name. So that should be the main objective, not to aspire to have a good family or good economic situation. They will come and go. What is the use of all the wealth if one simply dies? So therefore, Maharaj Bharat, upon, because he was a pious soul, certainly he is the son of the Lord himself, but still he retired from family life after a certain time period. Yeah. So text 9. If you have any questions, please stop me and ask. I won't be asking again and again. Yatra hava Bhagavan Harir Adyapi Tatra Tyanam Nija Jananam Vatsalyena Sannidhyapata Ichha Rupena.
Yatra bhavo Bhagwan Harir Dhapi Tatra Dhyanam Nijajananam Vatsalyena Sanidha Patyat Icharupena.
Please, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Swami Prabhupada. Translation. At Pulaha Ashrama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, out of his transcendental affection for his devotee, becomes visible to his devotee, satisfying his devotee's desires. The Lord always exists in different transcendental forms, as stated in Brahma Samhita 5.39. Ramadi Murtisu Kala Niyamena Tistan Nana Ataram Akarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishnaha Swayam Samabhavat Parama Puman Yo Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. The Lord is situated as himself, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is accompanied by his expansions like Lord Rama, Baladeva, Sankarshana, Narayana, Mahavishnu, and so forth. The devotee worship all these forms according to their liking. And the Lord, out of his affection, presents himself as Archa Vigraha. He sometimes presents himself personally before the devotee out of reciprocation or affection. Devotee is always fully surrendered to the loving service of the Lord. The Lord is visible to the devotees according to the devotees' desires. He may be present in the form of Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, Lord Narasimha and so on. Such is the exchange of love between the Lord and his devotees. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you very much. Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavataram Akaroda Bhuvene Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Paramaha Pumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ramadi Murtishu. Now this takes us back to the very beginning of our discussion of Bhagavatam. See, sometimes, and it happens with me also, we still don't have complete faith in Krishna. In our hearts, we still wonder whether there is a difference between Narayana, Krishna, Ram, or other forms of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada has explained so many times that Krishna, first of all, is not God. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. He's the absolute personality of Godhead, and all the other forms of the Lord are plenary portions. So now this is a very mysterious sounding term, plenary portion. How can we say complete portion? Either it is complete or it's a portion. But Srila Prabhupada uses this term prolifically, plenary portion, because these personalities are plenary. They're complete, and yet they act like a portion. Lord Ram is Maryada Purushottam. So many ladies wanted to marry Ram, but Ram refused. If Lord Ram would have married Shubhnakha, the whole Ramayana would not have taken place. Ravana would be happily living and everyone would be peaceful. But he refused Shubhnakha, and therefore all the trouble started. So, but Krishna did not do that. When Krishna met Kubja, Kubja was also a society girl, not the most reputable female. But still, Krishna agreed to spend time with her. Krishna spent time with her and purified her. Likewise, the 16,000 queens, the princesses who were captured by Bhaumasur. Now, according to Vedic injunctions, if a woman has lived with one man, then she is unfit to be married. Then she becomes impure. And that's at the level of body, she is completely impure. Then she is unfit to become a mother or anything. Then she is like worthless. And I mean, it's like Prabhupada also mentions this in Srimad Bhagavatam, that for a woman to become unchaste is highly sinful. It's like practically suicide, spiritual suicide. An unchaste woman will definitely degrade to animal life. And this applies to devotees also. Not that devotees will have some special consideration. It's not like that. Impure devotee Matajis will also go to hell. So, but Krishna agreed to accept these princesses as his queens. So they had like we see, for example, the story of Ambika. Krishna, can you please stop this sound in the background? Yeah. Yeah. So, like we see the story of Ambika. So she was promised so she was in love with another king. And when she came to Vichitraveera and she said that, I am not interested in marrying you. I love this Bhojraj. I think he was the king of Bhoj. So they said, okay, if you don't want to marry, you go back, because she had been kidnapped by Bhishma. So when she was brought for Vichitraveera, she refused to marry him, saying that she loves the king of Bhoja. So he was sent back. She was sent back. But King Bhoja refused to marry her. He said, sorry, now you have spent time, you are kidnapped by another man, now I cannot marry you. And therefore the whole Mahabharata started from there, because she came back as Shikhandi to kill Bhishma, and then so many things happened. So you see, the Vedic injunctions are very strict, but Krishna can break them. So because Krishna is Leela Purushottam. Lord Ram is Maryada Purushottam. So likewise, Parashuram acted only as a warrior. We don't hear of any Ras Leela or any Rasas of Parashuram. His only Rasa is just taking his axe and killing the Kshatriyas. There's no other Rasa in Parashuram's life, if we see. He in fact even fights himself. He fights Lord Ram, and he fights with Arjun. So he's like a fighter. But still he's a plenary portion, because he is the Supreme Lord, but he manifests only a few specific qualities. For example, Lord Narayana, Lord Vishnu, they do not manifest any of the other Leelas. You can't have Sakhya Ras or Vatsalya Ras with Lord Vishnu. You don't see Vishnu's parents. Lord Narayana is never seen as a child, because he is the same Supreme Absolute Truth manifesting certain features. For impersonalists who have just obtained Dasya Ras, they can see darshan of Lord Narayana. Then he'll be seen in the Shanta form. But for the yogis who are very much advanced in spiritual life, they can see the Lord in Vatsalya Ras, Dasya Ras, or Sakhya Ras. So the Lord is always complete, whether he be in the form of Narayana or Krishna or Ram. But the living entity, he decides what form will be visible to him by his own rasa. So Maharaj Bharat went to Pulaha ashram to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Hare Krishna. Yes. We continue. Text.
Hare Krishna. So you said about Vishnu and Narayan. They are in no rasas. So they are supreme.
That's yes, yeah.
So what does it actually mean? But they are also supreme Lord,
Yes.
but not the preliminary expenses.
No, they are plenary portions of the Lord, Narayana and Vishnu, but they do not exhibit any of the Leelas.
Oh,
But,
I
you
see.
know, yeah. When you are wearing a uniform, then you are not a father or a husband or anything. In your uniform, you are just a soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we take one last verse for today. Yatrashrama padanya ubhayato nabhibhir drishat chakraish chakra nadi nadi nam sarit pravara sarvatah pavitri karoti.
Yatra Saram Dhan Hayat Nathi Phir Achar Chakraish Chakranadi Nadi Nama Sarit Pravara Sarvata Pavitri Karati.
Yes, Lord. Someone like to
May I
read?
read the
Yes, please.
translation? In Pulaha Ashram is the Gandaki river, which is the best of all rivers. The Shalagram Shila, the marble pebbles, purify all those places. On each and every marble pebble, up and down, circles like navels are visible. Purple. Shalagram Shila refers to pebbles that appear like stones with circles marked up and down. These are available in the river known as Gandaki Nadi. Wherever the waters of this river flow, the place becomes immediately sanctified. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So shalagrams are personality of Godhead. They are deities actually. So in the Gandaki river, these shalagram shilas are available. Actually, one should not pick them up unless one's spiritual master has allowed, because that's the personality of Godhead himself. So we do not take it cheaply. So just to say by extension that even deity worship should be only followed under the strict instructions of the spiritual master. It should not be taken as a fashionable activity. It should not be taken as the deities are not dolls. The deities are not like some Barbie or Ken dolls, or we can just play with them. Deities should be treated with utmost respect. The Shalagram Shila is available, so this Gandaki actually flows in Nepal. And even now, if you go, you can find Shalagram Shilas there in different forms. Actually, if you are fortunate enough to go to Vrindavan, you can go and see the room of, Indra Prabhu, and you can see various shalagrams that he was worshipping. It's quite a prolific collection of shalagram shilas. And there's one disciple of Prabhupada in Mayapur also who has a big collection of shalagrams which he paints and worships. I think they're still there in his room. You can go and see them. Okay, because this river touches the body of the Supreme Lord, wherever this river flows, the land is automatically purified. Somehow or the other, now this is like something which is a bit far out. Somehow or the other, if somehow manages to commit suicide in this river, even he will be delivered. So, of course, one should not think that way. But if one somehow or the other drowns in this river, he'll be, at least he'll attain liberation. Okay, so we stop here today. Sorry, I have a splitting headache, so we can't talk much today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Standard Pranam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.